let me tell you about our newest partner for the month of March, Splash Sports, the home of certified community competition, where you get to play against your friends and not the house. Whatever game it is that you are playing, from survivors to tiers to pick X, the safest way to play for real money without the hassle of having to track down deposits or worry about payments is through Splash. They have partnered with PaySafe, the best deposit and payment system in the world, to ensure that money stays in safe hands and is delivered to the right places. To join the Field of 68 Survivor Madness, click the link in our profile below and join in. Entries are $5 a pop with a prize pool of up to $4,500. Winner take all. Join Splash and come prove that you're smarter than us. There are a lot of head coaches that would want the position of the head coach at the University of Louisville. You reported on this a little bit back, I think it was about a week ago, in the Field of 68 Daily. And you said that you don't expect Louisville to come out swinging with maybe the biggest name hire. Talk to me about a little bit about what more you've heard and what you're expecting Louisville to do and the decision you think they're going to make.
So here's kind of what I reported was they can't, because of everything that's gone throughout that program since, the Rick Pitino sagas, dramas, which there were multiple, and then Chris Mack and Dino Gaudio, they're not going to roll the dice on somebody with some, baggage. And Chris Beard comes with baggage. Sean Miller comes with baggage. Whether it's justified or not, they do. And Eric Musselman comes with baggage. They all come with different kinds of baggage, but they come with baggage. So I don't think any of them are going to be in the equation. And then you could take out also the guys with big buyouts. Mick Cronin, huge buyout, $15 million. Nate Oates, $10 million. TJ Otzelberger, $17 million. Take them out of the equation. Scott Drew, I believe, is a pipe dream. I don't think it's going to happen. Now, again, could it? Sure, maybe. If Baylor doesn't come up with something that's comparable, yeah, could Scott Drew say, you know what? This is an easy out for me now. I don't feel as loyal to Baylor because they didn't match what Louisville's going to throw at me. Sure. I think Baylor's going to find a way. And I think ultimately in a lot of these cases, coaches are going to use this and have used this for leverage, whether it's Bruce Pearl to try to get his son the job in writing that he's going to be the coach in waiting, whether it's to get in the past, more money. Now it might be more money for NIL. I think that's going to be a lot of what you see here is guys trying to get more money for NIL using other jobs as leverage.
Mm-hmm. So where do you think they're going to go? Right? Like, well, if you're, you know what? I don't even want to say if you're Josh Hurd, because I know what your answer is going to be already. What do you think? Like, what is your best guess on where this search ends up?
I think it ends in the same place Ohio State search ends. And I think it ends of picking Dusty May. And he's the guy we want. Because, again, you win everything with Dusty May. You win everything. You win the press conference because you're hiring a guy who went to the Final Four. You win with a clean dude. Like, no warts on Dusty May. None whatsoever. And he's got some MF for doing, which people don't realize. You and I have been around him. I've been around him a lot over the years. He's got more shit to him than people think. He looks like the golden boy. He looks like, Opie Taylor, right? The kid who's going to do no wrong. He's got some shit to him. So I think they both want him. I think Dusty May at the end of the day has his pick of the two. Now, again, that's me guessing a little bit here, but I do think he's at the top or near the top of both Ohio State and Louisville's list. And it's going to be ultimately maybe where Dusty May feels that he can win a national title. I think that's what it comes down to. And to me, I don't know if you agree, but last I checked, Louisville's won national titles in the past. It's a top 10 job. I think Ohio State is a top 20 job. So we'll see. I mean, I've even said I think maybe he fits better at Ohio State in a way because it's a football school, because he doesn't love the attention. He doesn't yearn for that. But again, if it comes down to it and he has a choice, I could see him going with Louisville over Ohio State.
Yeah. I would tend to agree that Louisville is the better job. I do believe that when you go to a place where you are going to be the main focus of the university and the collectives, When you could play in a building where if you're good, you're going to put 23,000 people in the seats and you're going to be competing for conference championships. And, all due respect to Duke and North Carolina and to Virginia and to some of the other programs in the ACC, like Louisville might be they're probably not the best job in the ACC, but they're one of like the top 2 or 3 jobs in that conference. They're one of the top 10 jobs in America. And I don't think you can say the same thing about Ohio State. So it would be tough for
You ever
me.
been, hey, you ever been to an Ohio State non-conference game? That's
No,
not an
but it
elite
doesn't. Yeah,
non-conference game.
it doesn't exist, and that's part
They
of
don't
why.
show.
That's part of why I think I would tend to lead towards Louisville. If you want to be like, there's going to be an aspect to it of living in the fishbowl, and that's something where you kind of have to deal with it because the money's going to be there. Now, my question is, okay, Dusty May's buyout is, you probably know better than me. I believe I remember it being like 1.2
It's nothing.
million. Yeah,
It's irrelevant.
it's nothing. So, um, he's going to be in demand. And let's just say that Louisville doesn't end up getting him, right? And he picks Ohio State or he picks something else that
Who
happens.
else? Who else would be on that list?
Where do you go next?
So I think you're going to see names like Pat Kelsey, who just won the CAA again. And he's got energy. He's got a personality. He's got a fight to him. I think they want that. He can coach. Like, what Kenny Payne didn't have was a lot of energy, right? He just didn't. He didn't have a lot of that fight. Obviously, the X's and O's, there was a lot, right? The staff, all of it was honestly a train wreck. Where, Pat Kelsey's done it. He's done it for a long time at different places. He won at Winthrop. People forget that. I think you'll see, I think you see Josh Schertz be on there, but again, I think it's going to be hard if you're Louisville to hire a guy that might not get in the NCAA tournament this year. Again, I think Josh is a rising star, but that's a large leap to take. From D2 a couple years ago to Indiana State to not getting in the tournament this year. Is Jerome Tang on the list? Yeah, he's probably on the list somewhere. But I could see Dusty May, Pat Kelsey. I'm trying to think of other guys that I mentioned last time.
Nico Medved was the only one I remember on that list.
Yeah, Nico Medved certainly should be in the equation for what he's done. Although right now they've fallen off since I wrote that. In terms of, they're barely in the tournament right now. I think again, and Louisville fans didn't want to hear this from me when I wrote it, but like, after Dusty May, I don't think there are going to be a lot of names where you're like, whoa, like you got to find guys that want out. And, we even saw like Porter Moser, right? Like, he's at Oklahoma, and a lot of, there was stupid speculation about him going to DePaul. And it's like, unless you hate your athletic director, you're not generally going to a lateral or downturn move, right? You're just not. And Joe Castiglione is the easiest dude ever to get along with at Oklahoma. So like, it made no sense, even though Porter loves Chicago. And I don't want to get off a tangent here, but like, it just makes no sense. I kind of am getting off.
Yeah,
I know.
you're on the tangent. So just to circle it back, you mentioned Jerome Tang. So I have 2 questions for you. I'm going to start with Tang. Why isn't he higher on the list?
Well, he only did it for a year. And you can say that about Dusty May, but like, he did it for a year going to the Final Four, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And they're back in right now at Florida Atlantic. And it's also a brutally hard job. We saw it up close.
Yeah.
Really, really hard. Other than it being in Boca.
Well, the one pushback I would give on the 1 year thing with Tang is you also got to remember that he lost one of his best guards in Quez Glover, and then Naquan Tomlin was never allowed back to the. So like, I get why. And even then, if you look at their resume, they're like a game, a win or two from the Big 12 and the Big 12 tournament away from being.
Listen, I think Tang is somebody, again, like, I'm not saying he's out of the equation. I'm just saying right now, I think he's further down the list. And again, it's funny because Tang and Kelsey are both like social media mavens, right? I mean, they both love it. They utilize it. They capitalize off it. And you just wonder how that plays out. I think it's a good thing. And I think what Louisville fans want, and you know this, they want somebody that they can relate to. Tang's got a personality. Kelsey's got a personality. Dusty's just more of a normal dude. When you look at him, when you're around him, He's a little bit more of a normal dude, not a big social media guy. But again, I think those are the guys we're going to look at.
Here's the one thing I will say, and the reason why I keep coming back to Tang is I
Yeah.
think that he has a little in him what you see out of someone like a Chris Beard and what you see out of someone like a Bruce Pearl, where they just have a feel for how to energize a fan base and how
Sure.
to get
Yes.
people going. And I think the most important thing, beyond like the obvious of like they got to get players, they need NIL, they need this, they need that. The most important thing is to be able to get that fan base back where, and let's just call it a 19 and 14 season where
Sure.
you're on the bubble.
Feel better.
Where they're excited about it because they're happy to be
You're
back.
not embarrassed to say, Rob, you're not embarrassed to say you're a Louisville basketball fan.
Yeah,
Think about it.
And you get it going in the right direction. And that is the more than anything else out of everybody that you just listed. I don't know if Tang's the best basketball coach out of that group. I think that there's a lot of arguments to be made about what defines the best basketball coach. I think he'd do a really good job at Louisville. I think he's a
But
really
you don't think all three of those could do it? Like obviously you know Kelsey can and has at Charleston. Tang has. So I see what you're saying. Why isn't he in the same conversation as Kelsey? And he might be. I'm not saying he's a notch below. I think Dusty May is a notch above.
Well, I mean,
Nico
Dusty,
doesn't.
look,
Nico doesn't bring the same energy.
Yeah, with the buyout and like what he's done, like Dusty's the new Shaka, the new Archie Miller, the new Brad. Like everyone's gonna
Brad
want him
Stevens.
Yeah.
Why isn't Dusty? Honestly, like let's see what he does here in this tournament, and if he makes a Sweet 16, another Final Four, which I don't think he'll do, but maybe they can flip the switch, Rob. Like who's to say Elijah Martin doesn't come on again and do what he did last year in the tournament, and then he'll flip the switch again.
For those counting at home, that is 2 tangents that Jeff Goodman has gone on so far in the show.
Yes.
All right, here's how we're gonna wrap this up.
I got to get my burger, so I'm hungry right now. Well, my stomach's growling.
This is how we're gonna wrap this up. I think I've made clear, considering what the limitations are. If you don't, Dusty's obviously the number one you go after. For me, if you don't get Dusty, I'm going after Jerome Tang. Who are you going after if you are the AD? I don't want to know. I don't want you reporting on this. I don't want your saying like, "Ooh, I've talked to this source and that source and this source, and this is what my." If you are the AD making the decision, who are you hiring?
Boy, I'd have to think about it to see if I'm missing anybody. You know, like I feel like I'm probably missing one name here that I might go after that we haven't talked about, but I think Kelsey's a Midwest guy. He knows that area pretty well. Again, I think his buyout is only $1 million. That's the other part. You'd save about $4 million. Tang's is about $5 million. So $4 million. I like if it's close, which I think it is, I'd probably go with the guy with the lower buyout just because you're saving $4 million.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Listen, this has been the breakdown of the Louisville basketball coaching change. Kenny Payne is out. We will yet to see who's in. Make sure you stay tuned. Feel the 68 daily. That's where you want to be able to stay up to date on what's going to happen. Jeff Goodman's giving all his scoops there these days. We'll see you guys again next time.